the Fuji Guys on location here at a park near the Fuji office. I'm here to talk to you guys about, getting better sports action photos. And, typically, first what you need to have is equipment. We have, normally a compact style camera, and of course we have more of a SLR style long zoom camera. And the benefits of having this style camera when taking sports action shots is the ability not only to get closer to your shots because of the long zoom, but also the ability sometimes to control things like the shutter speeds, or giving you more manual controls to freeze action on that photo. But talking about shutter speeds, ideally when you're taking sports action shots, when you use the faster shutter speeds, you really freeze the subjects in motion. And that's what you want to do with typically a lot of action photos that you want to take with your digital camera. You do have the options, of course, to use slower shutter speeds, and by doing that, you actually cause what's considered a motion blur to the photo. So, if you want to sort of convey motion, you can use the slower shutter speeds, but typically, and for the situation that we're going to use here, we're going to use a faster shutter speeds so that we can freeze the action in motion. So on your digital camera, on this style camera, you have, the simplest way to do things really is to set it to a sports shooting mode. So typically on your digital camera, if you go into the menu systems, you have the options of the sports shooting mode, and what it automatically does is it selects a faster shutter speed on your digital camera, again depending on the lighting situation, of course, so that you can freeze the action in motion. And that's the simplest way to do things on getting sports action shots, and typically with a compact camera, because you don't have a lot of manual controls to change the shutter speeds on your digital camera. Of course, on a camera like this, you have the ability to adjust things like shutter speeds and aperture on the camera. So typically when I'm shooting sports action shot with this style long zoom camera, I'm setting the camera to the S dial, which is the shutter priority dial. And what it allows me to do is to change the shutter speeds to whatever I want it to be. And in this instance, I want a very fast shutter speed, so at least 1/1000th of a second or higher to sort of freeze that action. And the camera will automatically adjust the aperture to give me the proper exposure for the picture. So it's a simple mode to do. Of course, you can control the whole exposure system as well by switching it to the M mode, which is the manual mode. And in the M mode, which is on the dial, you have to control the shutter speeds and aperture. So typically for a sports action shot, I don't have that much time. I want to capture that shot and I want to freeze it. So I'm just going to quickly use the sports mode or quickly use the shutter priority mode, and so I don't have to change one setting when taking that sports action shot to freeze the photos. Now typically a benefit of these style cameras too is that they offer a continuous shooting mode. And these modes are great because sometimes when you're taking sports action shots, especially at the soccer game, you're not sure when your son is going to kick that winning goal, but he's very close. And in these typical modes, they fire off a bunch of shots for you at a very rapid succession. And after 5 or 6 or 7 of these shots, one of these shots that you're going to take that the camera captures in that short amount of time will be that ideal shot of your son or daughter kicking that soccer ball. So don't forget to use the continuous shooting mode on your digital camera to do that. Now of course, on these style cameras, you have the ability to get very close to the action. So when we talk about action shots, we want to freeze action, we want to see someone do something, but some of these shots sometimes when it comes to being in the sports field, it's just candid photos of your son or daughter waiting to get that ball passed to them. And so take advantage of the long zoom and get a nice close-up portrait. Don't forget too that if you get very close because you have a long zoom camera like this, which is about 720 millimeters, you may want to turn on the macro functionality if you can't get focus when you're zoomed in all the way to that subject. So don't forget just to take out close-up shots as well when you do action photos. Now typically when taking taking sports action shots, another issue that's going to come into play is the delay of when you take the picture. So, continuous shooting modes allow you to reduce the delay by firing a bunch of shots and getting that one shot later on within that burst of photos. But if you don't have that feature, most digital cameras also have the ability to, of course, when you use the shutter button, pushing halfway down to pre-focus on the subject, and that helps sort of to reduce the shutter lag prior to taking the photo. That helps one way. On a digital camera like this, there's also a focusing mode called continuous autofocus. And what that does is that it constantly focuses wherever you aim the camera to be. And so when you take that photo with your digital camera, it also helps to reduce the shutter lag because it's already decided to focus as you aim it towards the subject that's moving around. Now, typically on a fast-moving subject, some cameras also have this new feature called tracking autofocus. And so the difference between that versus the continuous autofocus is that you have to sort of aim the camera at the subject and move wherever they go for the camera to focus. But with tracking autofocus, you can have the camera steady at one point, and whatever subject's moving in that scene, it will track that subject, so you don't have to pan that photo with your digital camera. And so when you take the shot, again, it helps to reduce the shutter lag on your digital camera. So these are some great tips for getting a sports action shot. Until then, I'm Billy, and this is...
and I'm Greg.
And together we're the Fuji Guys in the field.